بعدين the tenant shall undertake to notify the landlord in case of any damages or issues in the property. It's the tenant's responsibility to let me know if there is a leakage, if there is some electrical issues, some whatever issues is there. The tenant shall permit the landlord for viewing. I write it in the contract and I mention it from day one. In between, during the tenancy, I want to sell my property or I want to check the property, I mention it in the contract and I explain it to the tenant. Dear Mr. Tenant, from time to time I might need to visit the property. You cannot tell me that no, I will not allow you. Give me permission from now. With a 24 hours notice, with a 48 hours notice, my authorized person for the viewing of the property, and then in the event of any early termination, I have to mention, I have to specify in the contract how much time I need advance notice and how much penalty I need. Usually people put 30 days prior notice and 2 months penalty. But you can also agree on 30 days prior notice and 30 days penalty. Or you can also agree on 60 days prior notice and no penalty, whatever is agreed. Usually people agree on 30 days prior notice and 2 months penalty, which means 14th of February you are informing me. From 14th of March, you can leave the property on 14th of March and you have to pay me rent or I will deduct rent of 2 months. After that, right? Again, depends on what's agreed between the tenant and the landlord. In commercial properties especially, the cases where you are renting a retail or a shop or a big office, 400,000, 500,000 dirham, and it's not really easy, and your ROI is high, your rent is high compared to the value of the property, and it's not really easy to replace a tenant, penalty can be 6 months. Can be 1 year. The notice can be 6 months. Whatever is agreed with. I have had rents where the prior notice was 6 months and 6 months penalty. Whatever is agreed with. Yeah, for a shop I rented in Motor City. It's always between the mutual agreement.
What if you get an office, shell and core, and you do the fit out? Then the tenant...
Again, you will mention in the contract. The tenant doesn't want to leave, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Then that case the tenant doesn't...
The landlord wants him to vacate?
You can't. Guys, landlord wants to vacate? No. Basically, the law is no landlord can kick out any tenant. This is the law. There are 2-3 exceptions. One, there is a damage or there is a danger or there is a risk to the tenant due to any technical issues or the property is falling down or the ceiling is coming down. There is a danger to the tenant, then only you can kick out the tenant. Or you want to sell the property and with a tenant you cannot sell the property. In this case, you will have to go to the notary public, give a notice, 365 days from the day the tenant receives the notice has to move out, even if your expiry date is tomorrow, right? And thirdly, you want to move into your residential property and you prove to the notary, to the court, that you don't have any other properties to use. I want to move in, I want to stay in my property, that's why I want my tenant out. In that case, you will go to the notary public, show them that, see, you check in the system, I don't have any other properties, I want my tenant to leave, and the reason is I want to move in. Again, they will send a notice to the tenant, which will take between 1 to 2 weeks to be delivered to his door. Even if he's not at home, they will put it on the door. From the day that the notice is delivered, the tenant will have 365 days to move out. He can move out next day also, but he has 365 days. And if your tenancy contract is expiring in between, the increase or decrease in between will be as per the RERA index calculator. So this is the thing. Commercial properties, there are other cases. Commercial property, if it's not used for like 90 days or 30 continuous days, then you can go to RDC and say that, see, it's a shop. It hasn't been used for the past 60 days, 30 days, 50 days, which reduces the credibility of my shop. It's getting dirty, glasses are getting dirty, I'm getting less footfall in my shop, so this is a damage to my property. Then you can ask the tenant to move. I'll show you, we will go to it.
In case if the tenant is, we are here talking about the residential property and he or she subleases it or use it as a commercial.
I mentioned, it's not used.
Okay, if that happens, is it a solid ground to say, okay, you have to work, it's a breach of a contract?
You have to go to RDC, RDC will tell you.
But Does it work?
Of course. You go to the RDC, say that this guy is subleasing the property while we agreed no subleasing. Or this guy is using it for another purpose, we agreed to not do so.
And that, in that case?
In that case, the RDC will send a notice and will kick out the tenant. This is very important. Remember this 90 days. If a landlord wants to increase the rent, cannot increase it more than what is allowed in the RERA index rental calculator. Cannot go beyond that. Cannot go beyond that. This is number one. Secondly, if the landlord wants to do so, wants to increase it, even as per the calculator or the average market price, it has to be notified to the tenant before 90 days before the expiry. And if the tenant wants to vacate at the time of expiry, he has to inform 90 days before. If the tenant is not giving a notice to the landlord saying that in 90 days or 95 days when my contract is expiring, I'm going to move out and I will not renew the contract, if such notice is not sent by the tenant to the landlord, then it can be considered as auto-renewal. And to make sure, I will mention it in the contract and I explain it to my tenant. I don't want trouble and issues in future. It's like when you want to get married. You discuss about everything before the marriage. Before the marriage, it's really easy to solve. After that, impossible. So talk about everything, all different scenarios, mashallah, everybody understands what I'm talking about. Talk about it, make everything transparent and clear before the marriage, before the handover, I mean. Then, upon renewal, any increase will be set based on the rental increase calculator or the market average, which can be found on dubairealestate.gov. The tenant agrees for a fee of 1,000. Again, this is negotiable. I want to charge 1,000 dirham. I cannot ask for commission again every year I cannot ask for commission, but I have the right to ask for 500 dirham, 1,000 dirham for my admin fees, for my service fees. I prepare a new tenancy contract, I go there, I pick up the checks, deliver to the landlord, right? Admin fees. If the property is sold during the term of the contract, as per the law, the same terms and conditions will apply to the tenant. The new landlord, the new owner cannot change anything in the earlier agreement of the tenant. Expiry date, amount, number of checks, whatever was agreed will be transferred to the new owner relation with the tenant. This lease agreement shall be subject to the laws of Dubai. Again, I mention it. Sir, if you are working in DIFC, if you are talking about DIFC laws, or if you are coming from Portugal, you have different laws in Portugal or from Spain or any other country, I want you to understand now that this contract shall be subject to the laws of Dubai courts, not any other courts. And the disputes will be referred to the RDC, which is in Dubai Land Department building, 2nd floor. My office has no legal and or financial responsibility. We are just brokers here. Please understand. If your tenant does anything wrong, it's not my responsibility. Tomorrow you cannot question me, you cannot blame me for a return check or for a glass broken in your property. I'm explaining it to you now because we had such cases, guys. And this is really serious. You have to literally mention it. There are people who are having different expectations. Make sure you explain it to the landlord. Sir, I have done my due diligence. My due diligence was talking to the tenant, looking at his visa. I see that he has a good designation. I see that he is a nice person. He looks nice. He looks clean. He has a good job. And he has a rental good conduct certificate, which is available in Dubai. And Dubai is the first country to provide rental good conduct certificate. Make sure to explain it, because landlords, especially the ones who are not living in Dubai, who are not familiar with the things in Dubai, they will blame you if God forbid there is any issues. Many of you have been in these situations. I trusted you. You told me this is a good tenant. Why his check is bounced now? It's your responsibility. First day you said that you will support me. Yes, sir, I will support you. How can you blame me for someone else? Okay, so make sure to make it clear. Sir, I trust this is a good tenant. I trust this is a good landlord. Tomorrow, anything between you, there is law. You cannot hold me responsible. Small things make big differences.